I was up on a trip to Skye with my son Stephen. We camped for the night at Ardell, within sight of Eilean Donan Castle. We decided to head over to the Clachan Bar until the lights came on at the castle. As we approached the bridge, we noticed a lobster boat at the jetty. The lobster pots were getting stacked at the back of the boat in preparation for their trip. When we started off, the castle was in full sun, but by the time we reached it, it was now in the evening shade. The sun still clothed the higher peaks above Loch Duich. We reached the far side of the bridge and passed the Lochan cottages on the way to the Clachan. It was very busy, so much so that a couple of locals used the open boot of their van as a seat. The Clachan was packed with tourists. There were Italians, French and Germans, sitting enjoying themselves in the warm evening sun. We managed a couple of drinks, then headed back over to the castle as the gloaming set in. The Cuillins of Skye could still be made out in the distance. We crossed the road and down the steps to the path that ran along the loch side. The enchanting atmosphere and the air of timelessness around us as we strolled along the rocky shoreline towards the ancient castle in its gnarled outcrop, listening to the lapping of the waves and the fading birdsong, was almost as intoxicating as the single malt sensations we'd experienced in the little pub as the gloaming crept in. There were quite a few tourists visiting the castle when we arrived. We made our way across the old stone bridge as we headed for the floodlit castle on its little islet. Eilean Donan is a wonderful castle whenever you see it, but it's absolutely enchanting in this wonderful evening light. There has been a castle here since the 13th century. The present castle was restored early in the last century. The floodlits cast giant shadows in the impressive curtain walls. The castle became floodlit in 1990, adding considerably to its romantic appeal. The sun had now set behind the distant Skye mountain peaks, but it was still quite bright. It takes a while to get dark in the West Highlands, and in the midsummer it's not really all that dark for long. The curtain walls were very impressive as we made our way back round to the castle entrance. This truly is a fascinating castle. It was originally the stronghold of the Mackenzies of Kintail and the Clan MacRae. The walls at the main entrance were very thick. The portcullis could easily be made out above the door. I took a tour around the interior of the castle a few years ago and noticed the winding gear for raising and lowering the portcullis. The distinctive peaks of the Skye Cuillins could still be picked out to the west as a couple picked their way around the far side of the castle. This fascinating castle sits in a strategic position at the confluence of three lochs. In early days, the West Highlands and Islands were almost a separate part of Scotland. In the 11th and 12th century, all the islands were under Viking control. An evening stroll around this fascinating castle captures all the history, romance and atmosphere that makes a trip to the West Highlands such a thoroughly unforgettable experience. I look forward to my visits here.